Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Yeah.
Well, no point, Tommy, again, so you don't have to point anymore. It kind of changes the whole beginning, though.
It's, everyone likes me singling them out.
Yeah, I think you might have to keep doing it, just like...
bring some more aggressive finger guns or something?
Yeah, different pointing each week until we run out of pointing shticks that you can do. This is episode 439 of the Massenomics Podcast, the lifting podcast about nothing, recorded live from your favorite Dakota, the best Dakota, the South of the Dakotas. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy. And this is one of those rare situations where I cannot say that it has been a while, Tanner, because...
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Not quite 1 week either. It's actually been less than 24 hours since we've done this.
This may be up there for some of the fastest turnaround recording of episodes that we've done ever. I'm sure we've done back-to-back days before, but not
I
often.
think we have. Actually... Take that back a little bit. We have done nights where we've done 2 in a night.
Sure.
But that's a little different because it's like we get done talking halfway and we're like, we'll just hit the pause button and then restart this. Yeah. So even that feels a little different there.
Yeah, this is our shift. As one of the Davids pointed out in our watching live Discord community, we have now started our transition to the daily Massenomics podcast.
We did realize that there was once a week was just not covering our bases. So we decided to 7X it.
Emergency podcast episode this week. We did have to get in because we got a very special guest coming this week. It's Mitchell Hooper, the strongest man on earth, the world's strongest man. We're going to be talking with him. So we figured, you know what? What the hell? We'll just record 2 in a row. We can do pretty much anything we want. We run the show. We make the calls. We don't have
no one can stop us over here.
Yeah. No, we can't be stopped. And you know who else can't be stopped? People that are on Build Fast formula supplements. I didn't even give you a chance to answer because I know everyone already knows the answer.
We knew.
Yeah, it's Build Fast formula supplements. Check them out at buildfastformula.com. The supplements that Tommy and I both use, trust, believe in. They give us that good feeling.
Too.
Yeah, so 80-20 protein. One of our favorites, Tommy is talking about having the chocolate peanut butter flavor in his rotation. One of their top tier flavors for sure. And then also for the pre-workout, at first it was originally just kind of the full blitz or the Vaso blitz. You're taking one or the other, and we talked to Big Nathan, one of the owners, and he said, no, what you got to do is a scoop of each. And that's kind of the new secret Massenomics formula is a scoop of each of the Vaso blitz and full blitz. So use discount code Massenomics. It'll save you 10% on each order that you get there. And if you sign up for a subscription model on any of their products, it saves you an additional 10%. 10 plus 10 is 20 million% off at buildfastformula.com.
This episode is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Texas Power Bars have become the go-to bar of Massenomics Gym and Tommy's Home Gym. We're big Texas Power Bar people over here. And it's for a lot of reasons. One of them is that the Texas Power Bar is strong as a house. It has the best knurling, and it's maintenance-free. Also, it has a long history to it. You could say that hundreds, maybe even thousands of state, national, international, and world powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on them. Those are just 2 of the reasons we like them. Another reason is the bars are pretty damn affordable. When you look at some of the other products on the market, they're very competitive, if not cheaper than them. And in a lot of situations, it's the bar you're going to be competing with. So if you'd like to train how you compete, a Texas Power Bar is a great way to go. So head over to TexasPowerBars.com, buy one of their legendary bars, anything from the original Texas Power Bar to the new 29 millimeter, or even a Texas squat bar or deadlift bar. You will not be disappointed. There's a reason they're a legend. So TexasPowerBars.com. Thank you, Texas Power Bars.
Oh, thanks, Texas Power Bars. Tommy, I went to Deadpool last night. I went
to
the
did you?
Theater.
The Wolverine one, you're saying?
Yeah. Deadpool, Wolverine, whatever.
Have you seen any of the other Deadpool movies?
Yes, at least one.
I have not seen any of them, so I feel like I feel like I can't jump in right there. That's the wrong spot to jump in.
I don't even know if it matters.
Actually, you probably have a good point there. It's
I'm
such
not that invested in
ambiguous
any
blob
of,
of just Marvel stuff.
That's what it is. That's absolutely what it is. And that would be my overall feeling of it, that it was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care that much. So like, it's not like it doesn't matter to me because I'm not that into like the Marvel cinematic universe, but I did think it was pretty entertaining. There is so much bad language and so much violence in it.
Wait, did you go with your son or anything?
Oh yeah, I brought my son.
Yeah.
We had looked it up. There's 118 F-bombs in the movie. We knew it before going into it. So I said, well, I actually have a rule with my son and my oldest daughter. The older she gets, I start to use this on her now, that with big responsibilities come big rewards and big treatment. So if you can handle the responsibilities, then you get to do stuff like go to really dirty R-rated movies with your dad. If you're going to be able to like handle that appropriately and understand that you don't get to do that, and also like that you have to do what we tell you when we tell you to do it.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, then you don't get to do stuff like that. That's kind of even on a smaller scale with my 6-year-old, that's kind of a treatment for her. Is she's like, well, why do I have to do this? I'm like, well, you're getting older, and do you want to go to
Deadpool tonight?
That's why I'm like, that's why I'm like, do you want to do cool stuff with your dad? Then you got to do other stuff too. Like there's a trade-off.
Yep. Can't have it all here.
Yeah, that is a parenting thing of mine that at least with my oldest son, I know he really is mature and can handle a lot of stuff. So I like it that way because I don't really want to shield him. Like I don't want to be like, no, you are never allowed to go to an R movie until you are 18 years old, and then
or be so naive to not understand like what the world's actually like.
And it's kind of like the kid in high school that never got to do was under their parents' thumb so hard their entire life that when they go into college, they become the drunkest person you've ever seen in your life.
This is what freedom's like? I want all the freedom. It's like, well, you overdid it, man.
I mean, everyone's seen that before, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's like, you were a straight A student. You were a good kid, which is, I mean, people like to hate on people for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, go to school and be good. Like, that's awesome. But also then, like, once you get the reins off you in college, then it's like, whoa, maybe you're overcorrecting here, buddy.
Right. So I do like letting like a personal philosophy is letting my kids experience a certain amount of things like in a controllable environment, like within certain parameters.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's parenting talk for the week.
Stay tuned for next week for more tips. Or I should say tomorrow.
Yeah. We had our new drop last week. I'm actually wearing the lifting department tee, the faded gray color lifting department tee. Probably, I'm still going to say it, best shirt we've ever made. The lifting department tee. I've got the faded navy and the faded black. This is the faded black. And I don't know if I know which one I like better. They're just they're my two favorites in a tie right now.
Faded navy maybe goes with more, or faded black maybe goes with more things. The fact that there's no color there means it can work with almost anything.
That's a good point.
But that's just barely. Barely.
Yeah. So these are subtle color differences actually, but the other one was so good. We're like, what? We don't really need to reinvent the wheel. We already made the perfect shirt. Let's just kind of keep it the same and just have more perfect shirts. Yeah.
This is the pinnacle. But that drop, if you missed out though, man, that drop was bonkers.
That was great. We sold all of our Crispy Boys banners. We are planning on restocking those. So if you do want to get one, make sure to sign up for a back in stock email notification on our website so that you'll be the first to know when we restock them. You will be the first to know when we restock them if you sign up for that email notification. Chicken bake tea restock sold well too.
Yep.
So
already some of those. Fronts. I think on that one, the smaller sizes are all gone, aren't they?
I think extra small and small might be gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even small people like chicken bakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No size constraints.
Even small people like those 52 grams of protein.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Okay, Tanner, I got some. All right. First of all, I got a few random things, and then already since yesterday, I've made a pretty good recovery after feeling kind of sick for over a week. So my brain's starting to work better. I remembered some things I forgot to talk about.
Fog.
Yep, the fog is clearing. But first, I got to ask: are you watching Hard Knocks at all this year? I know we've talked about Hard Knocks before.
I kind of always try to watch Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks is one of the few shows that I do like. What I probably like most about Hard Knocks is how short a season of Hard Knocks is.
Yes.
So I can be interested in it for like a month and then it's over.
You know what I actually think my favorite thing about Hard Knocks is? I'm starting to realize is it's just low impact TV. Like it's just I'm not like because I'm still got some other shows I'm trying to finish. I'm like, I don't know, my brain's ready for all this drama tonight. Like these heavy topics, and then you just turn on Hard Knocks, and it's just dudes just hanging out playing football, and it's low effort, man, and it's good.
Chicago Bears.
It's shot well, and it is entertaining.
I haven't watched this week's episode. I think that's where I'm at. So I've seen the first 2, maybe.
Yeah, I got a little over halfway through it, then I had to go to bed. But yeah, it's been good.
Well, and Jeff brings up a big point mentioning there. We do love. It is finally season for quarterbacks to be eating dirt.
Right. Unfortunately, they don't allow a lot of that in the preseason, so they're just just making me want it more. But
that's maybe what's wrong with the NFL these days is there's not enough quarterbacks eating dirt.
Right. There's not enough quarterbacks. Unless you're a Vikings quarterback, there's not enough quarterbacks suffering season-ending injuries in the preseason.
Of course.
I know. It's just, oh, God.
Oh, I don't know if you know about this, but by the time this episode comes out, the draft will be over. The draft is this weekend. There's a Massenomics Fantasy Football League.
Oh, I did see some talk about that.
Kevin is the commissioner.
Are you going to be a part of that?
Yeah, I got in on it. So, but the draft is Sunday, so I have to do it. And I'm going to a Zach Bryan concert in Grand Forks.
Oh,
so I'm going to be drafting in the car while we're driving.
I have one with my friends, and I don't even check my roster. I don't do anything. So for me, signing up for another one is an absolute waste of time.
Have you done it this year's? Like, have you done a draft this year?
Actually, I think everyone's so checked out on it. We haven't even talked about it. So after 4 years, it's just gone.
Yeah. I think we just have bragging rights at stake of this one, and I did say Massenomics would sponsor if someone can come up with a really stupid trophy idea. That would be a worthwhile sponsorship for the Massenomics to kick in the ridiculous fantasy football trophy.
That would be good.
First time playing fantasy football in many years for me, though. So I'm already looking through the player list. I'm like, wow, I do not know anyone in the NFL anymore. I mean, I know the stars of the NFL, but when you do a fantasy football team, you got to know the third best receiver on the Cleveland Browns.
Who's
and
the
I'm like, I don't know who the
who's the up and coming DN that's gonna.
And I'm like, who's the running back that's probably not a starter yet, but it's like one injury and then is going to be a stud. Like, I don't know any of that stuff, and I used to. I mean, nobody knows that stuff.
I mean, some people do know, but
right. And now I don't anymore at all. So it pretty much just relies on whoever the app is going to tell me that is probably.
Oh, that's all it turned into for me is like what the app tells me, and then I'm like, well, I'm actually not doing anything here.
Right,
like
you're just doing it. It's not as I can already tell. It's actually not as fun as. Like when I did fantasy football,
the computer does everything for you. It was so hands off. I'm like, all right. It picks who you think statistically should be the best to start on these. What defense you should start. What quarterback, like all that. It's like, well, I actually don't do anything here. So even if I were to win this whole thing, I can't even take credit for it, which I didn't win the whole thing. But yeah, I can see how letting the computer do it all sort of takes the game out of it.
That it kind of does. What was really fun about 15 years ago when I was doing fantasy football is a draft did mean the thing where someone had the giant poster board and all the names were printed out on.
You didn't accidentally get there. It was
no, and nobody had a computer or a phone that everyone had magazines and papers that like they had made their own lists or like you're looking at other people's magazine lists and like making notes. So when you made a pick, so there was people making completely asinine picks because there was no
guardrails in place to tell them how dumb they were.
There was no guardrails, and like where now it's like, well, nobody's going to go too far off the farm because it gives you like rankings for everybody. Like, when this person's ranked 80, why are you going to pick someone that's ranked 70? Yes. Mm-hmm. So I think it is a watered down experience from what it was like then, but I guess it's faster, more convenient, better.
I mean, it definitely gets more people involved. There's no doubt about that.
Right. But there was, and I did mention it in there was something about that experience when you go up in front of the whole room and go over, peel your thing off the thing and put it on there, and then like everyone's making fun of you as you're like doing it, like, oh, stupid, like I'm like, it doesn't get much better than that, like the heckling of people's choices and stuff, and then like people defending what they're doing, and yeah, it's kind of fun. So that's fantasy football, but I completely interrupted what were we talking about?
Oh, Hard Knocks. We were talking about Hard Knocks.
Oh yeah,
so
Hard Knocks. Okay,
we were on the same train.
Or we're on there. Yeah, it was football adjacent.
very, very.
I like all the memes about like wives' husbands who's like, yeah, your husband might be a doctor, but my husband is going to be managing a fictitious NFL roster of the jokes about how making fun of fantasy football.
Yep,
kind of like that stuff.
Yeah, and football, does college football start this? Well, it's actually happened by this point now, right? Because we're still
probably
a week out.
This will come out in September. Ahead. So yeah. High school football's kicked off.
College
football coming. NFL preseason's going.
Wow,
big football guys over here.
We had a few
flag football's coming to LA Olympics in 2028.
Yeah, I saw that.
I will be curious to see what happens with that. Which NFL players get in on it and everything.
Okay, I had a couple things. I totally forgot to bring this up last week. So I was talking about that concert I went to, and there was a group.
Which one?
You
did go to.
I just went to
you
sorry.
didn't go to the other one.
I didn't go to the Aberdeen one because I was. Are you talking about that?
Right.
Yeah, I didn't go to.
You didn't go to the Smash Mouth one either, then, right?
Yeah, I didn't go to the Brown County Fair one just because that was. We were briefly talking about it, and then when I was starting to get sick, I was already getting sick, and I'm like, yeah, I can't. This would actually kill me to do 2 of these in a row.
Right.
But so we went, and a bunch of my wife's coworkers came along with their spouses, and so it was interesting. I'd never met any of these people, and it's always interesting talking to people when none of them are from the area. Like we had people from Missouri, Kansas, California, Texas. Just. The greater Midwest and some other places is where everyone is from. And so you're doing the thing when you talk to people, you just kind of ask them random questions. And one of the things that was brought up when we were first talking is someone asked what I do. And I usually just break it down. I say, like, I have like a freelance web design business. And then I also have a podcast and apparel business. And some more younger people people under the age of 40, podcast means something. So a lot of times they'll ask a few follow-up questions.
They'll follow up to that. Yeah, right.
And so one of the guys was asking something, what it was about. And I said, kind of about going to the gym. And a lot of times for people, I usually get some remark of like, oh, yeah, I need to get back there. Like that seems to be a common answer when.
That seems good. Yeah, I could see that.
Like I get that one a lot. Like, yep, don't look at me. I haven't been there.
Yeah.
So like that, and then it kind of stopped there, and because we were at a restaurant, so we were just eating, drinking, doing whatever. And then later we go to the concert, and the guy came up to me. He's like, "So, about the gym, like what type of stuff?" And I'm telling him like, it's mostly like powerlifting and strongman. He goes, "Well, I did some powerlifting in high school." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you said you're from Texas, right?"
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah,
Jalen Hurts."
Yep. And he's saying, yeah. And I'm like, "So single ply?" He's like, yeah. So he's telling me his best squat and his deadlift and, explaining it all. And he said, yeah, I really liked it. And then it turns out his wife that was with us also did powerlifting in high school too. So they're both talking about their lifts and everything. And what I thought was really funny was, so now he's interested. I'm showing him some videos. He's like, well, where do you lift? He's like, what do you got going on? So I show him my gym. He's like, oh, that's really cool. And I'm like, yeah, all those banners are ours. So like we sell banners and then we have like apparel, and we actually have this thing called the drink spotter you put on the rack. He's like, oh, the thing that holds the beverages? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I've seen that before. So it's like, really, you guys make that? And so it's just funny how you can like meet these random people.
So he knew the drink spotter.
He was aware of the drink spotter. He's like, yeah, I've seen that before online. So that was pretty cool that you can just
that's funny
meet random people and they can be familiar with at least something that you make.
Yeah, that thing of like someone asking what you do, usually based on the situation, I pick whether I'm going to tell them about my professional day job or I'm going to tell them about this instead.
Yes.
Like, because I could go either angle. Like, both are basically full-time jobs for me. Obviously my full-time job is a full-time job, and this is pretty much a full-time job. So if I feel like it fits the conversation a lot better, I'll lean with this. But most of the time, for most people, I'm like, don't even want to know how to begin to try to explain this to you.
Well, and yours are so obviously different.
Right.
Like where mine are
Right.
almost kind of
Yours
the
are
same.
connected.
Like, I
Yes.
mean, you can almost interchange them. That like they do work
Yes.
pretty similar, but
Yeah, and then so I will oftentimes choose which one I'm even going to go down. when I do that.
Yeah, I can see that. And then it was funny because like next things our conversation then started to turn into from gym stuff to like some podcasting stuff to Bitcoin. And I'm like, oh, we're just going down like the old Massenomics podcast topic list
Yes.
here.
Yeah, he probably would like the Massenomics podcast.
Yeah, he said, he's like, I got to check that out. So who knows? Maybe he's listening to this one.
He's probably listening right now. I would just encourage him to become a supporting member. Would be the only thing that's really holding him back at this
That
point.
is the only thing holding you back. And then you've made the full commitment and your life will be better.
Speaking of becoming a supporting member, this episode comes out in September, the beginning of September, and by the end of September, we're going to be sending out the next crew gift. But there's going to be some date in between the beginning and end of that month where there's a line in the sand. And if you have joined prior to that line in the sand, you get in on the gift. After the line in the sand, you do not get the gift.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a significantly important gift that we're sending out.
There's a lot on the line here.
Yeah, this one will be important for multiple years down the road, probably. Will stay relevant and important. So get in before the line of the sand. A long-winded way of saying get in before the line of the sand. Become a supporting member, massenomics.com/join. That's where you go to sign up and become one. You get this gift. There's a discount code only for supporting members. You get early access to our drops. You get in our Discord. It's the only way you get in our Discord community. Over 400 members in there. You also can get featured on supporting our supporting members, which is something we do on the podcast each week. It's a relatively new segment of the podcast, but we do it consistently every single week. And this week we have been having, because of this line in the sand, we have been having quite a few new people. So I just wanted to shout out a few new ones. Every once in a while I'll do this. So I'll say, thank you, Big Evan, Big Ben, Big Travis, Big Thomas. Thanks for joining. Big Shane. Not the Big Shane, but a Big Shane. Big Jacob, Big Kurt, Big Jeff, Big David, Big Peter, Big Seamus. My wife had to tell me this name means Seamus. Seamus. I did not know that's mean that is Seamus.
I
so
would
Big
not
Seamus.
have got that either.
Yeah, I was like Big Seamus, and she's like, "That's Seamus." I'm like,
does sound wrong.
Of course,
Like,
of course, that's how you spell Seamus.
Yes.
Big Mark, Big Ronald, Big Alex, and Big Florian were all recent joinees. So
That
did
sounds
learn-
like a great group of guys to join.
that's a great group of supporting members. We're happy to have all of you. Also, one other shout out supporting members. Shout out to Big Joey, one of the hosts of our sister podcast, Unpaid and Underrated, for helping. He was at an event with Mitch Hooper, and he reminded him about being on the Massenomics podcast, and no doubt that helped get him here this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good work, Joey.
thank you to Big Joey.
You did it.
So everyone, come join up. Come, it's fun. We have fun together. There's nothing about politics or religion, or it's an escape from
all that
some of the
bitching
stuff
and
that
moaning that
sucks.
people do in
Yes.
their day-to-day life.
Yes, and we do fun stuff. We talk about lifting. There's serious lifting talk, and there's also a lot of goofy lifting.
Also gives you the
talk in
inside
there.
track to our meetup in December.
Yeah, and there's Big Chris is right. There really is only 3 spots left. So, yeah. Okay, so that's our supporting members. Should I read an ad here?
Yeah, why don't you?
Okay. This week's episode is brought to you by The Strength Co. I believe by the time this comes out, actually Grant from The Strength Co. was the recent guest on Unpaid and Underrated.
I saw
so
that.
you'll be able to check that out also. Go listen to Big Grant on our sister podcast. And while you're at it, check out his podcast, the OK Podcast. New episodes of that every Friday. Most importantly, head over to thestrength.co. That's where you buy his equipment. He sells barbells, deadlift jacks, deadlift mats for your floor, a bunch of stuff like that, but probably, absolutely, certainly the premier product is their Olympic, made in America, iron 2-inch barbell Olympic plates. They are the best in the business. Also, by the time this comes out, we should have an additional YouTube kind of a review video where we look at our Strength Co plates years down the road after a bunch of heavy use. And spoiler alert, they're still badass and awesome, and they hold up great. That's the Cliff Notes version, but still, please watch the video. You get more information than that. So go buy yourself some. TheStrength.co. Let them know that Massenomics sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by Barefoot Shoes. Barefoot Shoes are the best barefoot footwear on the market today. They got everything from low tops to high tops to boots to slip-ons. A little something for every occasion and everything you're feeling that day. Tanner and I recently have started rocking the Ursus low top. It's a black suede shoe with a gum sole, and that thing is amazing. It is our new favorite barefoot shoe. It looks great. It's a little more incognito, undercover than some of the other shoes. You don't notice it as much, but it feels awesome, and it's got the style points there too. With winter coming up here shortly in the Dakotas, there's also the Bruin boot, which is good for your all-weather situations. It still has that same great barefoot feel while giving you the protection you would expect from a boot and to help you survive those elements. They also are recently adding in a Made in America boot, and they have the Ursidae, a hybrid shoe that has some waterproof. It looks like a little more heavy duty, some weather protection from it while also being more of that shoe platform. So if you'd like to get a pair of barefoot shoes for yourself, head on over to barefoot.store. While you're there, use code Massenomics and you can save 10% on your next order. Barefoot.store, code Massenomics will save you 10%. Thank you, Barefoot Shoes.
Thanks, Barefoot. Is our guest here yet, or should we talk about another topic?
Not yet. Maybe I'll kick the people out so we're ready.
Okay. All right. Were you drinking coffee over there?
I
today?
was coffeeing it up.
I got a Waterloo peach sparkling water over here in my drink spotter light. I don't know if you can see this drink spotter light on camera, but it's right there. I'm going to pop the top on that. Huck Finn mating call.
Get some going.
About time we kicked out those live listeners. Sick of those.
I was getting
sorry
tired
sons of
of them.
bitches.
After we just hyped up Hug right there, I'm pretty tired of him now, though.
A real mouthy bunch, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Just
A little lippy sometimes. Yeah. Can't put a lid over those people. That's good. Waterloo Peach, easy 3.5 to 4 star.
Ooh, I can see
that one pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Very easily, actually. Okay, we talked about the line in the sand. I wanted to get that out, of course. There is still time to sign up for the Crew Falls December to Remember event, too. Head over to our website, look for the Crew Falls tab, and you can get signed up for that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check it out. You'll find out more information. We'd love to see and hang out with you that date in December 7th.
Going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What was the dude? Is that a thing?
It is a thing. I'm just
Maybe we don't have enough time to talk about the dude.
I'd hate to get going and ranting on things.
Okay.
And then
so that's a good one that we might not want to. I did get my hair cut.
Oh yeah, I can't tell. I was going to ask you, but it's always been back, so I can't even tell that you did.
Yeah, actually,
because it looked like you got a lot cut off.
Yeah, it's about to here right now.
Okay.
We just did a garage haircut. It was last
reviews?
Tuesday. I played noon ball, and my hair always gets the tangliest from noon ball from like bouncing around repeatedly for putting it through the spin cycle for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And that night I was brushing it, and I'm like, this is terrible. I hate this. Let's go in the garage right now. Grab your scissors. And I'm like, let's cut a lot off. And I'm like, don't even show me or ask me what. Just cut off a lot, whatever you think that is.
Did you say I still need to be able to put it up? Like
I said, if I can barely put it up, that's fine.
Okay. I didn't know if you were giving her permission to just scalp.
No, I want to be able to put it up. I guess is my only thing, but I can't put it up. It's not like it used to be. I mean, I just barely have a bun now, basically. So it was, I think, like 8 inches or something like that, 8 or 9 inches.
It's a lot for a guy to be able to cut 8 inches off and still be able to put his hair up.
Yeah. And so it inspired my wife. She actually got a haircut yesterday for the first time in probably longer than mine.
I saw that
She cut
too.
16 inches off. Oof. And her hair's still quite a bit longer than mine is now.
That is.
But her hair was really long.
Yeah, that's very, very long.
Yeah.
All right, our guest has arrived. Should we start this?
Yeah, maybe
should we do this thing?
Talk about haircuts at all, but
if judging from him, I can tell he loves hair.
Big haircut guy. We are here with the strongest man on earth, Mitchell Hooper, world's strongest man on earth, Arnold Strongman champion. What's your favorite title now?
Yeah, I guess I got to think about that. It's hard to get away from world's strongest man, I think, but the lay person doesn't understand the difference between that and strongest man on earth. So I might be able to ride this one out for a year.
Yes, strongest man on earth, I do think does have a pretty sweet ring to it. Like if you didn't, like what you said, the average person, they don't really know the difference between the titles or anything like that. They just hear the words. And strongest man on earth sounds pretty legitimate. You know, like it feels like there's not much above that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a way harder show than World's Strongest Man, and it's not close. So in terms of personal pride, yeah, it's probably at the top for me at the moment. Maybe it's a bit of recency bias, but that show it might be over the line for how hard they go.
Yeah. I guess my follow-up question would be, which one do you think does a better job of finding the strongest person? But also, if it's just finding you most of the time, they're all probably doing a good job.
Yeah. It's always funny because people misinterpret what strongman is. Like strongman is a sport. You're not designing a show to find the strongest person, or else we wouldn't use implements. We'd use force transducers, and we wouldn't be doing strongman. We'd be doing powerlifting. So it's hard to say. I think you have to turn up stronger to strongest man on earth than to world's strongest man. But when I say that, I'm not necessarily talking about being able to move the most weight. I'm talking about making sure that your body is strong and resilient, because it will break you.
Yeah.
So do you think with some of these shows getting so heavy, strongest man on earth and the Rogue has, the Arnold has a reputation of being very heavy too. Do you think world's strongest man will start to push more that direction?
I don't know. There's so much going on with them that I can't give a good answer there. I think there's not any sort of direct corruption that I've seen at World's Strongest Man. It's way less behind the scenes, this and that. I've never once had a conversation in private about what events might be or what this might be or that might be. But I wouldn't be surprised if the organization was looking at who they'd like to be the ambassador for the sport and sort of shift things slightly that way. So I don't know. And you don't know if it's the chicken or the egg either. It got very heavy in the late teens. And then in the early 20s, it started to get allegedly a little bit lighter, although it's not as much lighter as people think it is, and a little bit more athletic. But there's different eras in every sport. And right now, I think strongman's finding its footing in finding the best strength athlete. And you don't want to go too far down pushing weights all the time, because we saw the Arnold, I want to say it was 2016, when it destroyed people with the bail-out yoke. That's the year that they did the 205 log for reps as well. And it makes the sport go downhill, the sport go backwards if people are getting hurt all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. What about that safety thing? I know, it came up to the extreme in CrossFit. You had a video about it. Do you think in strongman, there's always going to be an element of risk injury, no matter what, no matter what's done. Is that okay on the heavy? I mean, we don't want anyone to die no matter what. That would be ultimately worst scenario possible, of course. But there's always going to be an injury risk scenario. And that's part of what makes, unfortunately, maybe that's part of what it's like a NASCAR race. People watch and they want to see a crash. And it's maybe even subconsciously, that's part of it. You're like seeing someone try to deadlift 1,000 pounds. Does the body hold up to that? Is it capable? So I just wondered, do you think about that safety wise? Is there anything that needs to be done that much differently in strongman, or is it kind of being handled the way that strongman should be handled?
Yeah, I've thought of it a lot since Lazar's death, and there's a lot of risk in strongman, but I think the question is, what risk have you signed up for? And we've signed up for the risk of tearing muscles off bones and signed up for the risk of, musculoskeletal injury, but we haven't signed up for the risk of, say, an implement landing on our head. So it made me think back to the Rogue Invitational in 2023 when Trey tore his Achilles on the bull pull, and then they took the Fingo's finger into log. They took that out and replaced it with log for reps because there was some rain the night before. And there was fan outrage at that. And I'm thinking, well, there's nothing to say that wet floor couldn't have caused a slip and a Fingo's finger to land on someone's head. So I think in general, the promoters, they really do consider our safety, and they do listen to us when it's a legitimate concern with safety. That being said, they don't listen to us with everything. And I'd be the most firm person in strongman right now that if I have something to say, I'm going to say it, to a fault. But I'm gonna definitely take a second look and have a second comment moving forward, thinking there are many times I haven't been listened to in the past with little concerns and this and that, that you don't want to be a pain in the ass in the moment, but it can be tragic if you're not being listened to. And there is a history of a lack of cooperation between some of the organizations and the athletes. So it's never got to the point where someone's died because of negligence, but it certainly has the same attitude between the athletes and some of the promoters, where they're going to do what they'd like to do. And if you'd like to be a part of it, you can show up. And if you don't want to be a part of it, then don't show up.
Right. That sounds spot on. That's probably exactly right. I agree with that. You did talk about wanting to make sure you pass overrated, underrated. That's at the end of the game, but we are going to kick off earlier with another game. We'll be curious to see if you pass or not. This is something we play slightly less frequently, but it is a fun one, and it's what weighs more is the game.
Okay.
You're a guy that is familiar with lifting a lot of weight in various forms, whether it's lifting it overhead, picking it up, but we'll see what your gauge is of weights of items. So we've got two comparisons here, and it's just your job to decide which one you think weighs more. So the first one is the largest moose ever, or the two heaviest deadlifts at Strongest Man on Earth combined.
It would be the heaviest moose ever, because the two heaviest deadlifts are me and Thor, 966 and 996, I believe. So we're talking shy of 2,000. I would say there's a bull moose that's been over 2,000.
Yeah, so I just want to double check heaviest bull moose ever, heaviest moose ever, because there was a little bit of conflict on this. Then that's kind of the somewhat tricky part of this
answer.
Yeah, well, what I'm getting is 1,808 pounds. But But then I searched a little more, and I did see someone recording a trophy moose with an astonishing 2,300 pounds. Ooh, so you are correct in that case. 2,300 pounds.
It's a big moose.
Yeah.
Are there moose in Dakota?
Every once in a while, a rogue one will show up, like on a golf course or somewhere. But that's like
it's newsworthy. If there's one, like, it's filtering around everyone's social media, like it'll make the local news if there's a moose around.
Right. I've actually never seen one myself. I would love to. But it's crazy. You know, I've had to do my moose research since I've been nicknamed that. And the biggest risk for truck drivers up north is that the moose is so tall that its body is at the height of the glass of the windshield for a transport truck driver. So if they hit one, they're cooked because it goes straight through. So that's what I'm thinking about. So over 2,000, cool. I'm 1 for 1.
Yeah.
And this must be like school rules, right? 50% in school means a pass.
Well, that's really
in the States. 50% is failing. So
okay, second one here. 50 Canadian geese, 50 average Canadian geese, I'll say that, or the Dinnie Stones, combined weight of the Dinnie Stones.
Oh, wow. Okay. A Canadian geese, it must be, and if I pick that up, they have hollow bones and they fly. I'm going to say 10 pounds, 50 would be about 500 pounds, and the Dinnie Stones are well more than that. I'm going to go Dinnie Stones.
That is correct. Ooh. And I just got to say, really good logic playing that one out. I think that you're very close on the Canadian goose, weighs 5 to 14, average of 10 pounds. Oh, so you actually pegged the Canadian goose. I figured some people might estimate a goose is heavier than that, but the hollow bones, I'm like, I think you're onto something with the hollow bones.
It's yet another competition that's a little bit of corruption has got me the correct answer. We colluded on this.
Yes, impressive. Very well. You've got your gym that you train out of regularly there, your home-based gym. And what I was telling Tommy, what I'm curious about, so if you came to Massenomics Gym, we've got a little club powerlifting strongman gym that we operate here, and a lot of the members are really into strongman and powerlifting. So if you walked in and you became a member tomorrow, a bunch of them would be super excited about it. And they're like, hell yeah, Mitchell Hooper's here, the world's strongest man. We get to train with this guy now. It's awesome. Yeah. But we've got a few people in there that just like a cool gym and don't know anything about the internet lifting. Like they have been lifting in the gym for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, but they just purely don't care or know anything that's going on outside of that. And they could be very strong people, and they would literally have no clue who you are. I'm curious, at your own gym, does that happen very frequently? Do you run into people still that are like, who's this guy and what's with the camera? Get out of my way. You know, like,
Or why is this guy lifting so much weight?
yeah.
Yeah. Not really. I mean, I started at that gym before I was invited to World's Strongest Man in 2022. So most people then didn't know much of Strongman other than the traditional. I watched that on ESPN 15 years ago. But as I've sort of gotten better, the gym has done well in celebrating me and giving me some exposure. So now at the gym, there's a highlight reel of me just playing on one of the TVs all the time. There's a little
cool.
Strongman corner with Atlas stones locked up. There's a Fingal's finger. So even if you were the average person who knew nothing, you'd sort of walk into the gym. You'd see the video. There's a sign, this is Moose Country. You'd see some of the weird implements. You would know something is up. But no, I can't remember the last time in my gym someone didn't know who I was.
Right.
It's funny though. Sometimes people will play coy and they'll be like, oh, that's really heavy. That's a lot of weight. How much is that? And they'll be like, oh, 850. And they're like, oh, you're really strong. And do you train for anything? And I'll go into the like, oh, it's World's Strongest Man's, you know, like,
Yeah.
I won it. And they're like, yeah, I thought you'd won that. I'm like,
How about this? Do you have any not immediate family members? Obviously, your immediate family members get the scale and scope of everything you're doing and how strong you are. But do you have any like more distant family members, like say like a great aunt? Because Tommy and I have both been lifting and competing in powerlifting and strongman and stuff for many years. And like, I think I have relatives that they probably think I'm I might win like local little things. I'm a very lifetime intermediate lifter kind of, but I've been doing it for a long time. But they might think I'm like the strongest man in the world because their frame of reference is they just don't know. They've just seen me do stuff before, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's like the strongest guy we've ever seen before. He's amazing." But
Yeah.
do you have anyone in like your family tree or anything like that that doesn't really understand? Like they're just like, oh yeah, he likes that lifting thing, you know.
At this stage, no one close to me. Everyone sort of gets the deal. But the funniest thing along that vein that happens is when I'll get introduced to someone, say, you know, I know most business owners in my hometown of places that I go. So I'll be chatting to them, whatever, and you'll get connected to someone. They'll go like, oh, and this is the World's Strongest Man. His name's Mitchell. And you'll sort of get on occasion, you'll get like, oh, are you now? No, it's a competition. It's a legitimate thing. I have won it.
Right.
And especially, you know, looking at me, you'd look and you go like, that's a very strong guy, but it doesn't really scream like a Thor or a Brian, like this is the strongest guy in the world. So yeah, I've had to explain before that I'm not an asshole going around claiming I'm the strongest man in the world.
Yeah.
So one thing right before you came on, one thing we were just talking about is occasionally, you know, when we're out and meeting people for the first time, if we say that we have a business or something slightly related to the gym, a lot of times people want to relate to you, like, oh yeah, I used to be able to do this, or I could do this. Do you ever get the thing of the guys being like, oh yeah, strongest man? Like they try to like relive some of their glory days. Like I used to bench 400 in high school, or like, do you ever get those things?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the guys who would be able to do something if not for this incredibly minor inconvenience.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
The most recent one,
Yeah.
I upset Bill Kazmaier because it was at Royal Albert Hall. I literally enter the hotel and he's sitting there with Eddie Williams and Matt Ragg. And he goes, oh, you're posting a lot of good lifts right now. I said, thank you. Especially your squats. Thank you. I was wondering if I should have told you about the time that I did this, and this. And I said to Bill, I said, Bill, that's really good. What can you do now?
What did he say? Was he mad about that?
Well, he said, now I can stand up off this chair. But he proceeded to tell every individual one of the Giants Live staff what I had said to him. So I know I hit a nerve, a very old nerve.
And Bill can be an interesting guy for anyone that if you haven't gotten any interactions with Bill Kazmaier before. So that's I could see that.
No comment.
Yeah. first of all, we've touched on it, but who coined Moose? Who first called you Moose? Where did that come from?
This is so funny. It's turned into such a thing. In Australia, a guy named Macaulay Tinker, when I was competing at New South Wales Strongest Man in 2021, literally just started yelling it. I've never seen a moose. I don't have a particular affinity for moose. I don't, nothing. It's typical guy nickname. He just started yelling it and then it just took off.
Yeah.
I've gone on record. So now I associate with it and I like it because I know it's people cheering for me, but, I've gone on record in the past going like, I don't love it. I don't want it. It's just, you get a nickname and it is what it is. But, Wes Derwinski, who's coming up now, he's also the Moose, but he's in a very different camp where he does love the name and he wants to keep it. So he had himself announced at the Shaw Classic as the original Moose.
Shots fired, actually. Yeah.
I was cracking up backstage when I heard that.
That's good. It's funny, that nickname thing. We just talked about that with Lucas Hatton too, because he was a little worried because coming out of Strongest Man on Earth, there was this thing of calling him large legs. And he was like, I do not want to be known as large legs. Like, I do not want that to be my shtick. And Tommy is like, you don't get to pick it.
Yeah, you don't pick the nickname. The nickname picks you. That's
it's good. It's good you told me that because I will
call him large legs
that as much as I can.
Yes. Get that going. If you have any sway next time you're at a show with him, get him to announce him as large legs when he comes out.
I mean, if you had to pick between like large legs and thunder thighs, I think maybe you'd pick large legs, but
yeah, thunder thighs, it's a bit feminine, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Maybe we should do that.
Yeah. Your content, I mean, obviously you're an amazing strongman. I mean, that doesn't need to be even said here, but your content creation is, to me, what Tommy and I, as people that kind of do some of that same content stuff, is pretty amazing. And like the consistency, the quality, the level, the amount is a little bit unparalleled, kind of as far as your maybe peers in the space and stuff.
Especially given that you're competing too, you know, like you are still an active strongman while pumping out all this content.
Right. And, I'm especially talking about the YouTube videos, obviously Instagram and everything else, doing podcasts like this plays in, but especially your YouTube is just kind of kicking ass and you're doing a good job. I'm just wondering, the time management and stuff. Like, do you have much of a team? When we were talking, you had a couple people helping you set up, but like what's your schedule? Are you working like 18 hours a day or what's going on?
Yeah, it's difficult, but I take my professional life very seriously right now, and I see strongman as it's something that you can make great money if you win all the shows, and I've been very fortunate over the past couple of years, but you can't rely on that for all that long, and YouTube is really the opportunity, and merchandise brand and other businesses off the back of that. I'm almost a victim to my own ambition, to be fair. I think if I zoomed out, I'd say chill out a bit. But yeah, I've got a guy who helps with my long form, a guy who helps with my short form and marketing. My sister actually manages Lift Heavy Be Kind, the clothing brand. She does everything there. And then I have a executive assistant who bumps around. That's everything on the Moose side. And then I have a physical therapy clinic as well. Kinesiology clinic, you guys would know it more as physical therapy, but that's everything I got going on. Time management wise it's really difficult. Am I working 18-hour days? Probably if I added everything up, but a lot of that is just because I'm a victim to turning everything I do into a revenue stream. At first, YouTube wasn't a revenue stream. It was stuff to sort of build a fan base, and training certainly wasn't a revenue stream, but now it is. So, is going for a walk for active recovery, is that work? Well, it's sort of work now. But yeah, my normal day to day is, it's recording 1 or 2 YouTube videos, which don't take me as long as you would think, especially with the format that we're going with now. People seem to really like listening to YouTube in the background. And when I realized that, I started going way more to just talking head conversational type stuff. And that's done really, really well. So we'll stick on that thread. And then, getting stuck into whether it's clothing or writing programs or coaching stuff or whatever it is, it's too much. It's too much, and it's a short-term thing for sure.
So on YouTube, like the content side of things, do you guys have a content, like, do you guys have a pool you're just dumping content ideas into all the time? And do you have a calendar and you're planning things out, or is it more just like, let's see what's going to happen this week?
We've got a calendar, but the content pool is my head. I'm really lucky that, like, my brain just never stops spinning. The way that I think about a strongman competition and how I'm relentlessly thinking about the events and how to do this and that, I think the same way about YouTube as I do about business, as I do about everything else. And then we'll get a good list of things. You sit on them for an hour, you go back and you've come up with 10 ideas. 8 of them absolutely suck, and 2, you're like, okay, that might be all right. So yeah, it's constantly spinning in my head of what people might enjoy.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously, I mean, it's been very entertaining, and I think people are enjoying it. So you're probably touching on the right nerves there, particularly in the YouTube. You've done a lot of collaborations with people too. Do you have anyone that is on your wish list that you'd love to be able to do some long form video with, or something that you haven't yet, or anyone coming up that you're going to get to hopefully soon? Yeah.
So I have one lined up with Ronnie Coleman for January next year.
Nice.
Yeah. I've been chatting lots to Mark Bell. I'd love to get out with him and do stuff. The guys from Elite FTS, I've been in touch with them, and I would love to. Same thing. The guys at Westside, I've been in touch with them, and I'd love to go out there. They would be on my list of ones that I know are going to happen. It's just a matter of making the timing work. I mean, this has been in the works for 6 months, chatting to you guys. So
we're very used to that though. At this point, we've been podcasting for like 9 years. I don't sweat it. Like, if I talk to you for 6 months and we don't have you on yet, I'm like, it's going to happen eventually. I'm just like,
that's always our conversation. Like, he's aware of us. He's trying.
Yep,
we know what's going to happen. It's just, is it a year from now, 2 years from now?
Yep.
Another one I've been chatting to who will definitely do something with is Devin Larat, who's not that far from me. And then one that I've spoke to, but I don't think I'm cool enough for him yet, is Chris Bumstead.
C-Bum.
Maybe. I asked him when I met him, and he said, yeah, just let me know when you're in Florida. And you're like, there's no way for me to let you know. So I understand what that means. That means leave me alone, you big ogre.
I'll read between the lines here.
Yeah, that would be like that would be short-sighted for him, honestly. Like, if I'm just being like a unbiased third party, I'm like, yeah, you should take advantage of that if you're like trying to make that work. But that's
yeah, but I get it as well. There's plenty of people who would be worthwhile for me to do something with, and just, can I make it work, and can I be bothered, and on and on. So I don't fault him in any way. I'd probably say no if I were him as well. But I think you guys probably think I'm disproportionately cool to how the bodybuilding world thinks of me. Like,
right.
25% body fat, but wait till I get a barbell in my head.
Yeah, that's fair. Bodybuilders have a different perspective on it, probably. Content wise, then also, do you have any that you have gone with in the past that you've done that were particularly fun, or that you just really have fond memories of anyone that you've worked with here previously?
Yeah, it's actually crazy. Like, the videos that do well are always the ones that I'm having fun doing. The one with Little T, I've done a couple with her who came second at the Olympia. She's awesome. I really, really like her. Even someone like Greg Doucette, he gets a lot of hate online, and he's intentionally inflammatory and whatnot. But he's such a solid guy, and he always has time for you, and never cuts things short, and happy to hang out. I've done stuff with Will Tennyson and Jesse James West. As much as they don't get along independently, I find them both great dudes. I've had very few, if any, negative experiences with people who I connect with, and that's one of the best things about my life at the moment, is I meet all these incredible people, and get to spend a bit of time and learn a few things from them. So yeah, there's some who you don't want to make content with as much, and there's genuinely people who I don't want to make content with, who I want to go have dinner with, and there's people who I want to make content with, who I don't want to go have dinner with, just depending on how you mesh. But Taylor Learmont has to be at the top.
Oh yeah, that's good. You got to meet Huck Finn Barbell at the Arnold this year for the first time, and you saw him in fine form. I've seen him pretty intoxicated a number of times in my life, but that might have taken the cake actually. So you got like the best version of him right there.
You really did.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I got the worst version of my thing. I don't think he's a bad person. I wouldn't ever pass someone off on one experience. But there's two things where I'm like, oh, I don't know about this dude. The one of them was like, his wife was really upset, asking him to not have a beer, and he kept demanding her to bring him a beer. And then he goes, "Don't worry about it." And then he pulls a beer out of his back pocket, which is funny, definitely. But like values wise, I don't know. And then,
right.
And then I was walking to do the second day of the Arnold, and you're not feeling 100% after day one, of course. And he runs up behind me, and you know when drunk people are just like a little bit too rowdy, and you're like,
Oh
I
yes,
don't know if he's gonna
we
hurt me
know
by
very well.
accident.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I really had to get away from him because I was worried he was going to jump on my back or something crazy. So, I think right environment, right circumstance, really fun dude in the middle of competing. Probably got to stay away from him.
I remember on their podcast, Tanner, you might remember too. I think it was the week after his recollection of it. He was like, "Yeah, I met the world's strongest man and don't remember it. Maybe might have overdone it a little bit that weekend. Probably
Yeah,
could
I
have
think
played
he
that
was
one
even a little
different."
aware of that. Yeah. That is funny. That is true. Talking about value family stuff, I think you have a 6-ish month old. I think I saw you recently say 6 month old. I have I think that was your first kid. Is that right? Yeah. Tommy's got a couple kids. I've got a few. My youngest is 9 months. We can relate to a lot of that. How is that? Obviously it's life-changing in a number of ways, but how about like specifically towards your training and strongman? Like, does that have any effect on that, or are you able to kind of do business as usual otherwise?
Yeah, it definitely affects it, but in small ways. I think it really depends on your wife or your baby mama, whatever you got. It depends on how she handles it and what she's willing to take on. And my wife, Ash, has taken on a hell of a lot of the responsibility so that I can do what I have to do, because it's past just your work and your 9 to 5. You also can't be a professional strongman and not sleep. You can't be a professional strongman and not have some time to recover or sit in the hot tub to get your joints loose or whatever it may be. And she's taken on to that really, really well. So thankfully, I mean, evidently the past 6 months have been quite fine for me. Training and competing in business and all that. Right. But that's why going at this intensity has to be a relatively short-term thing for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. We actually see you're sitting kind of, it looks like the behind you looks like kind of behind me right now. You must be in somewhat of your fulfillment center or part of it in your house. Looks like there's a bunch of Lift Heavy Be Kind shirts right behind you. Yeah.
This is so my house, we're really lucky. We got our sort of main house, and then we got a guest wing. And the guest wing we've turned into our office. So we've got this room with Lift Heavy Be Kind merch. In the room adjacent to me is our office, where we've got the team working away, and we've got Kate bringing me my laptop charger. And,
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it works really well. And we're just in the process of building out a home gym, because my biggest problem at the moment that I didn't anticipate is that at my gym, I just tends to get interrupted so often by people that I really enjoy. So it's almost that I have to remove myself from them, not that I have to remove them from me. Thank you. And it should be a fully equipped. I can do any event down there, whatever I want. So then if I have to knock out a workout quick, that'll work, and then I can go to the gym for my other workouts. But yeah, this is the one of the HQs of where we do our stuff.
Okay.
And I think back to the baby question, I think it helps a tremendous amount for me to be able to work from home most of the time. It sort of balances out that I'm away out of the country quite a bit, but I'm also at home every day.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you really do have your work life blend is just, it's all kind of one, isn't it?
Tommy works out.
I mean, I do. I do this.
I mean, too, so,
I'm not like competing in World's Strongest Man, obviously, but I make content and work from home. So
yeah, but it is a real problem. I think even guys at the top will have wives and girlfriends who just don't get it. They just don't understand that the training has to get done, and the food has to be eaten, and the sleep has to happen. And I've never once, ever, anytime, any vacation, anything, had even a second guess that I have to go to the gym and train and do whatever. Which is funny, because when we started dating, I had just finished running marathons. So she certainly didn't sign up for this lifestyle. She has learned to think strongman is cool, but certainly didn't think that it was cool at first. And I think that having a strong partner is so paramount if you want to make it to any sort of good level.
Yeah, pretty much in anything, honestly, obviously. Sure. But at Strongest Man on Earth, you won by a wide margin. I think you would not have even had to have performed the final event to still get first place overall. Overall, the competition wasn't without some controversy, though. There was a lot of talk about the squat event, and you have had other events before where it seems like controversy has found you on things before. So I would say if we look at that squat event, in the end, didn't change, like nothing. Even if something was different about that squat event, the overall result of the competition isn't even different. So it's sort of a moot point in a way anyways, but just, what do you think? Like, do you get sick of these little things coming up, or when you're kind of the best, does that just have a way to find you no matter what? Like, is that going to find you no matter what?
I think it's going to find me no matter what, to be honest, because I'm not like a Zadrunas, but Brian and I are not that different in terms of thinking and strategizing about comps. So I have to find ways to get the most out of my body because the other guys are so good, and the way that you're going to be consistent is in using your brain as much as using your body. That being said, I have showed that I can adhere to any standard that's put to me, regardless. And every single rules meeting, I sort of smirk and go, okay, what is the rule for me this time? Because it's extremely clear that they are singling me out to try to clean up standards. And I think the fans are just hyper focused on me because I'll be in the lead or I'll be in contention. And so then something doesn't appear exactly right to them. They'll go ballistic. It gets corrected. I correct myself. Well, not even correction. I improve whatever I'm doing to the new standard, and then something else and something else. So you'll notice I broke the Axel World record, and split jerk was a big problem. Then I did this whole overhead medley with no split jerk, and there's no like, oh, he actually is strong. It's like, we're not going to talk about that, which is not like, that's not a pride thing. It's just, that's how I felt more efficient doing that medley. Now on the squat, I've put a video out about this. I don't know if you guys have watched it or not, but
yeah, I did.
The controversy is that my squats were high, which my hips were definitely high. There's no question about that. But we were tested with about 200 pounds on our back, and you squat 200 pounds different to you squat 800 pounds. As much as you'd like to say all of my reps are the same, that's just not true, especially when in setup, you're looking at the person out in front of you. And when I squat, I tend to look down at the ground. Basically what happened is I folded my torso over more, so my hips stayed higher. So my back had to do more of the work rather than my legs. The vertical path that was required of me did not change. It's what it should have been. And the only legitimate point of contention, that the things that are illegitimate are we are cheating or there's collusion or this or that, was I being smart about how to move the piece of equipment? And genuinely, no. That's just how I squat. That's just how it turned out to be, and I happened to benefit from it. If anyone is strong enough to manipulate their technique with 800 pounds on their back, then they probably deserve to win the event anyway, but I'm not that guy. So
that's a good point though. Honestly, that is a good point.
I've won 10 shows now. And I think, of the 10 shows, I've been discredited on all 10, by detractors for some reason or another. What I know for a fact is that when people start talking about the scoring system is wrong because Thor won 5 events and didn't win the show, that's when people who have not followed the sport are now starting to pay attention, which is unfortunate that I'm on the receiving end of a lot of grief and hate. But it's positive in the sense that if you didn't even know how the scoring system works, surely you're not following the sports. This is a new quote unquote fan who hopefully learns the sport and continues to follow.
Right. I think every really great strongman too, maybe not all, a lot of them, they end up having a hardcore fan base, and then they have, it's like any athletics or anything, if you're good enough, you're popular enough, you got a lot of people that like you, and you got a lot of people that cheer against you.
Yeah.
And
people
I do wonder
side,
sometimes,
which means they have to have a guy that they're not on that side of.
Yeah.
Right. So I also wonder too, you mentioned, you are vocal about things, you have, when you've got an opinion about the sport or whatever else, you make it known and you put out a lot of content. So you're just are out there front facing a way more than some other people. So I just feel like sometimes from the outside looking in, maybe you also, for as many fans as you have, you attract people that also want to see you not do as well. And maybe that's where some of that comes from too, though.
it would be an unfortunate place to be cheering against me for the past couple of years, wouldn't it?
Well, you get pretty frustrated, and then you start to complain about your squat, I guess. You know, you're like, there's got to be something.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I am open and honest. All I can be is myself. I can't put on a front to do anything else. So I don't lie that being a professional strongman has not been a childhood dream. It's something that I stumbled into and have been very lucky. And I think that hurts the feelings of people who have had it as a dream since childhood. I think, the fact that I don't need strongman to pay my bills is something that really bothers people. And the fact that I'm very focused on building business outside of strongman as well to elongate my career and my earnings potential, et cetera. I think that really bothers some people, but every legitimate criticism of me is something that I'm going to entirely accept, because it's just the way that I feel like I have to go about things. Now, when I say I'm outspoken, if any fan sat in a rules meeting, you would learn that I am more concerned. If we measure what is actually said, I'm more concerned with things being fair than anyone else. For example, in the deadlifts, Ed Cohen was judging, and there was a big conversation because he said ramping isn't allowed. And immediately I was the only one to speak up. I don't ramp. I never have. But I immediately spoke up and I said, that's not fair. Guys have been planning to do this competition. You can't drop this on us 2 days before and expect technique to change. And I'm sitting beside Austin Andrade, who ramps quite heavily. And I'm saying Austin is going to get screwed by this rule, and that's not fair. And then they started saying, okay, well, you can ramp, but the bar can't move down. Well, that's not fair, because if you bend your knees, the bar can move down. So I actually worked very hard to get that rule scrapped. Same thing with the straps in the deadlift. It didn't really make sense at the time. It was said and glazed over. And I said, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because we've never operated under these rules before. So we got so much explanation on that anyone who's claiming to have a problem with you can have a problem with the rule, but having a problem with the judges is not fair. It was judged exactly how we were told it would be judged. I was the one who asked for the overhead medley to be changed from 90 seconds to 120 seconds because I thought that would find the strongest person, at the detriment of myself. I know I could move through those first 4 implements faster than anyone else. Same thing, deadlift, it's to the detriment of myself. Whenever I see something that I find to be inconsistent with the rules, I will point it out, even if it tends to hurt me. And all the athletes in the rules meeting, if they're saying anything different, would lie. No one else would say anything else. I talk more in rules meetings probably than the people who are telling us the rules.
That's good. That is good. I like that. I do think we talked with Lucas Hatton about it, like the rule on the strap of the deadlift. He even, it cost him, but he said, well, it was judged how they said it would be judged. But to me, I actually go to your point where I'm like, I just don't really like that rule. That rule doesn't make any sense to me. It's such an odd thing. I'm like, either you can use the strap, the equipment, or you can't. If you can use the strap, the piece of equipment, then use it the way that you can use that piece of equipment, I guess. But that is exactly what you said. It wasn't judged unfairly. It was just an issue of whether you think that should be the rule or not.
Yeah, which is a much more fair and conversation that has a lot more legs. But yeah, if you're saying you can't use figure 8 straps, then naturally you have to be hanging onto the bar. So why are we talking about where the bar is sitting in your fingers or fingertips or whatever? It takes away the viewer experience. With Lucas's deadlift and with Evan's deadlift, the average fan, even the average fan who follows it from a distance, would go, I don't
That's a good
understand.
deadlift. Right. Yeah, I agree. We're from South Dakota. You are a Canadian man, but you're probably still a little familiar with Mount Rushmore. There's 4 presidents up there. It's in South Dakota.
Yep.
We play this other little game where we like to play the Mount Rushmore. So it's basically your top 4. And we've asked several other strongman before this. We've asked Kaz, some other people like that in the past. What would be your Mount Rushmore of strongmen all time? However you want to, with whatever justification you want to give that you would put on the Mount Rushmore, because people could be on Mount Rushmore for a number of reasons. So what 4 would you put there, and why would you put them there?
Just a comment on Mount Rushmore. It's funny. Like, I look at the people who are up there, and I suppose like over time, it's It seems funny. You know, the four presidents that are up there.
It's
I'm
very weird.
like, those are
Really.
the options. Like, nothing against them, but
Us growing up here, though, it's like, well, obviously that was who they picked, though. Like, who else? Who else was?
Well,
But
George
I
George
think-
Washington is the first, so that
Yeah,
one
so he's
is
gotta
kind of
be
like
there.
George Washington's
Totally.
the first.
totally. Yep.
Abraham Lincoln makes a really strong case
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so.
for a number of reasons, obviously. Teddy Roosevelt and Thomas Jefferson are probably the more interesting choices to me because there's probably a lot of other people you could come to that would why them over the other next
I mean,
15
Thomas
choices.
Jefferson is also on the $2 bill, so he's
That-
kind of got that working in his favor
That's
too.
true, and they named the Jefferson deadlift after him. But yes, I overall I agree with your comment that it is a weird, little bit of a weird thing to begin with.
I'm just trying to protect myself to say the true Mount Rushmore is questionable to begin with. Maybe they'll add on a little Trump with a fist up in the air.
I don't think so.
All right, my Mount Rushmore of strongman. Zagurnis is a no-brainer. I think Brian is also a no-brainer. Those are the two like tops. Those are the two that I would say no one could really debate. I think after that would be a debate. I'm gonna put
So we've got George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
there you go. There you go.
Okay.
Then Marius, I don't know. Marius I'll put on there, but you know, it's distant third because some of his wins were during the IFSA split and just in absolute numbers. I don't have a whole lot of reverence for someone lifted 350 kilos, but it was 50 years ago. So that's amazing. I just don't, you know, if someone lifted more, they lifted more. So I will say Pujanowski. We'll keep him on there. And then I'm going to say controversially Magnus for Magnuson because he was a great athlete and did some great things. And he has also transitioned to now judge strongman and world's strongest man for many years. I think he's had an impact across a lot of different eras. And strangely, actually, people who are like 65, every single person 65 years old knows him. I don't know.
That
why.
is true. I see it in our Instagram comments all the time when like Magnus's name gets brought up in comments all the like. I think it was just the perfect right era of watching that on television when it was on like ESPN2 and enough people he just like that name creeped into enough people's name and maybe part of it was his name like Magnus for Magnuson. Yes, like very memorable. You know, you cannot forget that.
Too.
Yeah, right. Well, great show. I don't think anyone could I mean, people can obviously make arguments of what goes on there, but those are all four choices that all deserving. What would you need to do for the rest of your, what else? Like, do you need to have more wins that you could be one of the top four? Like, do you need to win World's Strongest Man another time, win Strongest Man on Earth another time, or what would be necessary?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know because a lot of the two things that I'm getting asked the most right now are you going to try to be one of the greatest of all time, and are you going to retire? I just don't really think of myself in that way. Like I've only been here for a couple of years. I'm still digesting what the hell's going on. Never mind comparing that to the greatest of all time. I think right now I would be in the top 10 of all time, but to contest with those guys at the top, I think longevity plays a role. I think impacting more than one generation plays a role. So I think it would be something along the lines of win worlds, maybe one or two more times, continue performing at a very high level, maybe get the podium streak up to 35 or 40, and then have some sort of ongoing role in the sport because people like Eddie and Hafthor, they have to be somewhere up there close. Their accolades are there, but just the number of people who they have paying attention to the sport has to get some credence as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I
is
agree with that.
there a timeline in your head for how long this is going to go?
Yeah, there is. But I'll keep it close to the chest for right now. I will say it's not as short as some people might think it is, but there certainly is a concrete ending to it. I put a video out, a different video, obviously. I have to recalibrate at the moment. I've got no other goal that I'm not going to have to just manufacture. And when you just manufacture a random goal, it's hard to put like your heart and soul behind it. At the moment, I love to train and I hate to lose. And that's going to carry me through for quite a while. If I turn up to a show, I will never, ever turn up just to make an appearance, just to say hello to fans, just to, you're building a sort of mythical thing about you to people, and coming bottom half in a show is just something that I wouldn't accept from myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Merchandise wise, you had a booth at Arnold last year. I know you've set up at I don't know if you set up at Shaw Classic this year. It looks like you got a bigger. I was looking at the floor plan for Arnold 2025. Looks like you got a bigger spot in 2025. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's the amount of support that we've got it's crazy. It's humbling, and it's something that I'm really proud of because it's not something attached to my name. And the Lift Heavy Be Kind brand, it started because my wife, when she really likes someone who she traditionally would refer to them as kind, and of course I lift heavy. I think people misinterpret that as though I'm some beacon of kindness and strength. Like, no, sometimes I'm an asshole. Totally. I just try not to be. And it's the only brand out there that's not, skull and crossbones, fuck shit up. I think it's a better representation of what I've seen in the community anyway, which is just a bunch of people who are looking for a place to improve themselves in some way. It's more often than not the land of the misfits and people looking to be accepted. And I think those people really resonate with the Lift Heavy, Be Kind message because they do find it to be a safe place to just be themselves.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. Tommy, what do you think about overrated, underrated? Should we jump into that?
I think it's time.
All right. You already know about overrated, underrated, so we don't get to break any exciting news to you, but I would just remind you, you have your druthers to elaborate as much or as little on each one as you would like, but you do ultimately have to land on overrated or underrated. There's no riding the line on any of them. And if the presidential talk wasn't political enough, this is where we get really religious and political every week. So,
All right.
Okay. Overrated or underrated? First one, the Sydney Opera House.
It's awesome. It's so cool. I've been in there a couple of times. I'm going to say underrated. I can't think of many other things that resonate so strongly with a city. I think you got Opera House in Sydney. You've got the Statue of Liberty in New York, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Taj Mahal in whatever city the Taj Mahal's in. Just repping India. Sorry, I have no idea.
Nobody knows the answer to that. That can't be known.
Taj, I believe.
But yeah, I think I would go underrated for that reason.
I think that's good. Is it how many people fit it? I mean, is it huge? Is it arena?
Okay.
I don't actually know how big the
have
Sydney
you
Opera
seen
House
shows in
even
there, or
is.
did you just visit?
I've been in there a
Okay.
couple of times, but the funny thing is that it's not one theater. It's many, many theaters within there. So I've
Okay.
been to one in sort of the main one, and I've been to one in a smaller one. The smaller one might have sat 250 people, and the large one might have sat 700 or 800.
So are these operas or are these like concerts? Like what do you see there?
No, the first one I saw was a musical about a gay boy. I forget what it was. Someone
Okay.
listening would know what it is. Might have been Billy Elliot. Don't know. The second one was a magic show, a relatively underwhelming, quite funny magic show.
But the venue was good though.
The venue's sweet. Like just walking into that place, you feel like you're someone of importance.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. You obviously know about lifting heavy and being kind. Overrated or underrated? Kind bars. Have you ever had a kind bar before?
No, I haven't. I've never
Okay.
even heard of that.
That must not be very Canadian then. I was curious if that would be very Canadian or not then.
No. Is there a comparison that you could give a close candy bar?
It's kind of like in that line of just all these natural
What are those?
health energy bars that exist now.
Oh, no. I know exactly what you're talking
Okay.
about. Yeah. Yes, we do have those. I'm going to say underrated. I'm going to say that whole overrated. And the whole category is overrated, where you're not really getting much protein. You're not really getting a huge
It's
amount
like
of useful
fake
carbs.
health
It's like
food though, but it's
freeze-dried
like this is
fruit
very
inside
healthy.
it, yeah.
It's like, why is this healthy compared to
Yeah. It's like a different presentation of an O. Henry almost.
yes.
The O.
Yes.
Henry.
Yeah.
but still that distinct dryness of health foods.
Yeah, dryness kind of makes it's like the oat and honey. Those I can't
like
Tommy,
Nature's Valley. Is that what those ones
and
are?
they're the hardest thing. You like
Yeah, it's
tap
like
them against they'll break in half. They're barely food.
Yeah. You know, you've had a Nature Valley bar because as you step up from your chair, it gets all over your foot.
It's everywhere.
Crumbs are all over the floor.
Yes, that is exactly true about that. Good. Okay, overrated or underrated? The world's richest man, Elon Musk. Not the world's strongest man, the world's richest man.
As a human being or being the richest man?
Whatever your take is on it.
Your deal to slice
that's
it however
that's
you
the
want.
druthers.
I'm going to go with him as a human being. Underrated severely. I don't have a lot of time for anyone who doesn't have respect for Elon. Just the number of things that he's great at. That's what I truly respect in someone. You can be gifted at something and I don't really care. You know, you have a great memory and you can tell me a deck of 52 cards. It's just something you're born with or built with. The number of different things that he's dipped his toe into and made an impact is phenomenal. From X and free speech to Tesla to SpaceX. Talk about a guy who's living a life. My favorite story of him, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about how he wanted to like sort of prank one of his partners by boring a hole in the ground of the parking lot. And this turned into him digging tunnels under LA. And Joe Rogan goes like, "Are you allowed to do that?" And he basically goes like, "I don't know." Like there's no law stopping me, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. How many degrees of separation away are you from getting on the Joe Rogan podcast? That's something that I feel like should happen. Like, has there been anything that's hinted towards that direction before, or any possibility of that?
Yeah, there's been things hinted in that direction for sure.
Yeah.
There's been scams hinting in that direction. There's a really weird one going around at the moment that's like, I've got Rogan and Huberman, and I'm the manager for so-and-so. We'll pay you $3,000 to do a Facebook Live event. I've never entertained it long enough to get around to what the scam is. But I would love to go on Rogan's podcast. I think I have to insert myself a little bit more into pop culture before getting on there rather than just being a strongman. But maybe it's a bit of arrogance and bias, but I think if he heard my story, I would get on there, and it's just a matter of getting that in front of him.
I could definitely see it happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
at some point in
listening.
time. Yeah.
Joe Rogan, if you're listening, I would love
Regular
to.
listener Joe Rogan, yeah, of course.
We have had a number of guests though that have been on Joe Rogan, so this
That's
maybe
true.
Is the
So this is kind of a stepping
to you getting
stone. Yeah.
there. We're part of the.
We probably had a
series.
handful that have probably crossed over, hasn't there, Tommy? I
Yeah.
would
Oh
say.
yeah.
Maybe,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there's probably about 5 or so.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is like this. I guess I asked the question. You are just now 1 degree of separation away from it.
Yeah, this is
at
the
this
feeder
point, so-
system.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like OSG, I think, in order to get to. Is what you call that? Okay, last one, and this is worth all the marbles. Overrated or underrated? Your concoction, OJ and Greek yogurt, orange slurry or whatever. What's it called? And is it overrated or underrated?
I don't know. Orange slurry sounds good. I haven't given it an official name. It's orange juice and plain Greek yogurt for those who don't know. It's underrated, especially for people hearing about it the first time. Give it a crack. Get the consistency right. Mix it a lot. The macros are there. The vitamins are there. The probiotics are there. There's nothing against it. I smash that all day.
So like,
what is the ratio?
Yeah,
then?
what is the ratio here?
So I go about 1.5 cups of OJ and 3/4 cup of plain Greek yogurt. It's more Greek yogurt than you would expect. The key is when you're swirling it is that it's all mixed and creamy, but the drink doesn't gain momentum. You can't create the little tornado. That's when you know you've hit it perfectly. And the bitterness of the Greek yogurt and the sweetness of the OJ. It's health food good. I'm not saying this is better than ice cream. It's just healthy and tasty.
Okay, and then orange juice. There's a lot of different varieties of orange juice. What are we going with for the
pulp
OJ
or
here?
no pulp? Also, I think is important.
This is really important. Since the yogurt can have like a bit of a chunky texture to it, you got to mix it to make it creamy. If you get pulp, then it makes you think that you're drinking chunky chunky yogurt, which is not cool. So it's no pulp. I personally go Tropicana. They're free from. There was one in America that had a big controversy of it not actually being oranges. But Tropicana, no pulp. Of course, from Costco, because you can get 6 at a time. That's my show.
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. Good news, Tommy. What do you think? Pass, fail. He passed. Yeah.
Hey. Yes.
Bonus topic. Since you mentioned Costco, have you ever had a chicken bake? A Costco chicken bake from the food court?
No, I haven't got past the hot dog.
Do they not have them in Canada though? Have we talked about this before?
No, I think they have. Or maybe wait. I think actually you're right. Costco Canada doesn't have the chicken bake. That's the issue. Oh,
we've got the hot dog, which is incredible.
Yep.
We've got the pizza.
There's a long history.
So you don't know,
here.
we have a big shtick about the Costco chicken bake. We even sell a shirt related to just specifically. There's 52 grams of protein in each Costco chicken bake. The macro breakdown on the Costco chicken bake is, we've actually talked at length with Dr. Mike about it, whether it can actually be real or not. There's some controversy of if the macro profile of the Costco chicken bake is potentially even accurate. So
what's it like there?
What's that?
What's it like?
No. Did Mike agree that the macros are not right?
Oh, he thought it was like he's all on board with the chicken bake. He thinks it's like a gift from God.
So he loves the chicken bake, but he's not sure how it's real.
The one he was questioning more was, have you actually looked at the macros of the cheese pizza?
No.
The macros of the cheese pizza, I believe, isn't it like 48 grams of protein on a slice?
Yeah, in one slice of cheese pizza, it has just an absolutely absurd amount of protein in it.
And then, you have to Google it because it's kind of hidden, but it's like 48 grams of protein, and it might have less fat than protein even, too, which doesn't really make sense when you look at something that's covered in cheese. So that was the one that he doubted a little bit more. He was totally on board with the chicken bake, but the cheese pizza raised some flags for him.
I've had some meal prep companies where they'll sell like high protein cookies that have like no carbs, no sugar. You eat it.
It's like,
you're like, this tastes like a normal cookie. I'm never eating this.
You're just like, you are lying. I know you're lying. There's no way around this. Yeah. Very good. Awesome. Well, we really appreciate getting you on. This was well worth it. I knew we'd make it happen eventually. Our listeners are going to be excited about this, going to be pumped. What's the next competition down the road then? What is the next one even?
I've got 2 weeks until Giants Live World Log Lift Champs and World Tour Open in Birmingham. The last half of my year is wild. I got that show. I've got the Giants Live in Vegas show, which anyone listening who's in America, there's very few opportunities for you to see professional strongman. Go ahead and check out that Giants Live show out there. There's still tickets left. And if we can get successful Giants Live in North America, that's going to open up a lot of experiences and opportunities for fans. So please get onto that. So I got that one. Then I got World Tour Finals Giants Live in Scotland, and I got the Rogue Invitational in Scotland. So I still have 5 shows left this year.
That's a full calendar.
Yeah.
That is, we would encourage people to make sure to check. The YouTube content is awesome. We talked about it. Check out Mitchell Hooper YouTube channel, as well as Lift Heavy, Be Kind apparel. Where else would you want people to go if they're listening, and where would you direct them?
That's it. YouTube, my Instagram's on there. But if you digest YouTube content, then it'll start bleeding into everything else. If you digest it as I design it.
Awesome. Oh, thanks, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, long time coming, but love you guys' stuff. So long time listener, first time interviewee.
Well, hopefully we'll see you again in Columbus in whatever month that is, March, I guess.
You will. We'll be back.
We'll see. We're going to have to come check out the big booth this year.
Yeah, no pressure, eh? No pressure.
All right.
Thanks a lot,
man.
Mitchell.
Cool beans.
All right, I'm trying to think now. Are those Costco cool beans? Are they orange soaked?
Orange slurry cool beans. Cool beans. Just I think you make your orange slurry and then you just sprinkle cool beans right on top.
The actual strongest cool beans on earth. I don't know. Those could be any number of cool beans.
Actually, you bring up something important there. We have had many, many World's Strongest Man competitors on the show as guests over the years. We have interviewed World's Strongest Men champions before. We've interviewed Thor. We've interviewed Kaz. We've never interviewed Z, have we? I know we've talked to Z several times.
No,
but
we
I
have
don't think
not
we've done an
interviewed him,
official
though.
interview. So we at least Kaz and Thor, but never have we had a World's Strongest Man Victor on the podcast before, I think is the correct statement.
Yeah.
We haven't had Brian, Eddie, Thor, Martins. So this is the first World's Strongest Man actually as a featured guest on the podcast. So great day for Massenomics
After
history.
400
on
and some
400.
weeks, they're still firsts over here.
Only took us 439 weeks. I knew we'd get there.
So, yeah, it'll be about episode 880. We'll have our second World's Strongest Man winner on.
We're going to save it. We pull those out about once every 400
9
and some
years.
episodes.
We have a World's Strongest Man winner on the show.
That's the pattern. Could you imagine if there's going to be an 880th episode of the Massenomics podcast?
Part of me says no, but then part of me is like, well, but what else would we do, really?
What? Okay.
I
what
gotta
are
do something with my time here.
What are the percent chances? We're at 430, whatever, that there will be a 1,000th episode of the Massenomics podcast. So more than double the amount of episodes that we have now.
That's
What
more than
percent
that's
chance?
more than 10 years from now.
But maybe you look at a scenario where is there more than one episode per week? You know, like is
But
there
also
any?
that even sounds crazy to be like, yeah, I also do
That
this
also
2
is,
times
yes.
a week.
Yes.
God, more than 10 years from now, I'd be getting closer to 50.
Cool.
I'd be getting damn close. It's like, all right, like that actually sounds scary. I remember when
You're making a case for that not existing. So, but what are the percent chances?
well, I'm
then
making a
that you
case for it
put
not
out?
existing, but then at the same time, it's like, but that means at some point we have to consciously decide, like, yeah, we're done doing this, and that also
Yeah.
sounds crazy too, though.
Right.
So I guess
So right now
we're
today.
between a rock and a hard place at the moment.
Yeah.
Boy,
I think I'm going to land. If I had to say to make it to 1,000, I do think it's under a 50% chance because it's so much.
What I was going to
you
say
know.
is best case scenario sounds 50-50 is what I was going to
Yeah.
say there.
It
that's
might be
best
like a
case scenario.
30%
Just because that's
chance.
such a long period of time. That is
If
so
you just start
long.
to shorten the number a little bit, you say like 700. If you just say 700, which is still 200 and
But that's like
So
4
then we're
years. That
talking-
doesn't sound that crazy. I
that's,
mean,
no, like if you
it's
say 700,
also
I'm
like-
like, yeah, I can't imagine not hitting
yeah,
700.
things can change in a hurry. So like that's not a lock,
Right.
but that doesn't seem
Right.
that far away.
No,
Where
but it's funny if if you say 700, if you said me percent chances, I'm going like over 50 for sure because I'm
Yeah.
like I would say like 70% chance. But if you
what's-
go to 1,000,
What's
then
funny
I go
about this
way
conversation
down.
though is the number of people that can't commit to like working out next week, and we're
we're talking about like can we make it
hedging our
10
bets
more
on
years
if we're going to be
of
doing
every single week?
yes, doing this habit 10 years from now, and we're like, there still is a chance. But a lot of
Yeah.
people just like, will I work out next week? I don't even know. I don't even know if I
Yeah.
can commit to that. We're built different, baby.
There is something about doing this for 10 years straight every single week that
I feel
it's like at a
uh,
certain point you're like, no, I just know we figure it out.
At,
where it's
at
like,
that point,
I don't know,
it's like,
it just
all right,
works out.
I think the state of South Dakota has to like recognize us for something. I'm not sure what it is, but they have to recognize us
At
for
least the
something.
Aberdeen magazine by that point, hopefully.
Yeah, not the Insider either. The magazine.
Also, 1,000 is almost not like a more insurmountable back catalog to listen to than just already at 400. Because if you're coming to this, there might be people listening to this that this is their first episode listening. Maybe you saw Mitchell Hooper and you're like, big Mitchell Hooper fan, love to check this out, and they're listening right now still to the Massenomics podcast. That is a big mountain for those people to climb.
People
if they
put the
want to
numbers
catch
in.
up on stuff.
They had the number in the Discord. How many hours of content
It's like
was it?
650 hours.
And it said if you did that 40 hours a week,
yeah, I did the math on that. If you did it
treat it
8
like a
hours
full-time
day
job. Yeah.
for 5 days a week, it would take you like 17 weeks to get through.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is
if you
really
did it,
long.
listen to it nonstop 24/7 and could stay awake 24/7, it would take you almost a month to listen to the entire thing.
That's
if
a
it was
lot.
rolling, never stopping.
That is a lot. That's a lot of content.
Just to
And that's
if you
not
hit
counting
play on the
YouTube
first one,
videos and all the other stuff too.
yeah, it's not counting any of that. Right.
You should read an ad. I got to pee really
Yeah.
bad.
All right. This episode was brought to you by our great friends Chad Wesley Smith over at Juggernaut AI. You can check the site out. It's juggernautai.app. I'll kick it off by letting you know we have a discount code there. It saves you 10% if you use that discount code when you sign up, and then we get a little bit of a kickback on top of that, so it helps out you and us. It's a win-win-win, classic 3-win scenario at Juggernaut AI. It's the training also that Tommy and I both use. Tommy used it to peak for his last meet, the Lift Hard Live Easy Classic Massenomics powerlifting meet, where he hit the best numbers that he's hit in half of a decade. The program is phasic structure, where it goes through hypertrophy blocks, then strength blocks, building strength, focus more where the reps come down a little bit, and then at the very end, the final phases are the peaking blocks or peaking block that gets you ready to actually compete in a powerlifting meet. Or even if you're not a powerlifter, you can still use it just to try and get your squat, bench, and deadlift and your big lift stronger. And they have other versions like power building if you're not interested so much in the squat, bench, and deadlift, but you still just want to get stronger, get a little bigger. Now they also they have bench-only program options. Those are brand new to it. And I do believe they are working on, speaking of strongman options for the future. I don't think that's there yet, but I think that will come at some point in time. So check it all out at juggernautai.app, discount code Massenomics.
Okay, don't let me forget. I got to talk about something training related quick after this.
Like trains or lifting?
Trains. Choo-choo. Here we go. Next. Before we get there, though, I have to tell you about our good friends over at SwissLink. SwissLink has been importing military-issue goods to the United States and into the hands of those yearning for quality gear at uncompromised prices. SwissLink is home to the authentic Wavian fuel cans. They're from the same factory that has been making these so-called jerry cans for the NATO forces since the 1940s. SwissLink, big man Big Mo has decided that a high-quality water can was needed as well, so SwissLink developed a stainless steel water can to match. It fits all your Wavian jerry can holders and is made from food-grade 304 stainless steel, so you can trust it to carry your drinking water. This is another addition to SwissLink's exceptional collection and their dedication to quality customer service that distinguishes them from the rest. You can enjoy a 15% discount on your next purchase at swisslink.com by entering code MASS at checkout. That's MASS. We'll save you 15% at swisslink.com. Thank you, SwissLink.
Well, just as we were recording, had a new supporting member come in from Ipswich, South Dakota.
Woo, the big city.
Yeah. Shout out Ipswich, South Dakota.
Okay. Well, I was going to say we're running long, but we did have a little delay, so our current time isn't actually totally accurate.
Right. We're going to have to cut a little bit of that out, aren't we?
Yeah, I will say this.
To get mics and stuff set up.
Yep, with some technical issues. I will say this. After feeling not 100%, and actually whoever really feels 100%, let's be real there. But
true.
After I would say
people with multiple jobs and multiple kids and
I say 100%.
I mean really that I could just end it there.
Please.
Yeah.
After
I'm lucky
feeling
to be 50.
I would say after feeling like under 60% for like a while, man, waking up this morning, I would say feeling about 90%. I'm like, dude, I'm just ready to lift. Like because I've had to scale my workouts back so much. Like I've had to do like half workouts and cut some stuff out just because I can't. I mean, there's a certain point where you're just like hurting yourself more than doing anything, but keeping that's also terrifying though, of like doing nothing, and like letting that drop off, because when you get back, you will pay for it. So been keeping some movement in, but today I'm like, I'm ready to get after it. Like, let's go Juggernaut bridge block. So I'm excited.
I've been enjoying the bridge block. I've been enjoying the variation.
It's actually
the different stuff that I've been doing.
How much you feels like you do get used to it though, as
you do.
Like, do you feel like that?
Yeah. Oh no, I do feel like I'm used to it, but I also really feel like I'm going to be really excited for it to be over and on to the next thing when it's done, because I think it's like on the 4th week of it. So I'm excited to get through the 6 and get on to the next thing too.
Yep. I agree. Oh boy. Okay. I don't know. How much longer do we want to go here?
Oh, we might not have too much. Do you have something that's that is time sensitive to do?
I don't have anything time sensitive.
Okay. Let's wrap this one up then.
Okay.
We got another 560
to cover the rest of it.
1 episodes to cover the rest of that. So we'll get that somewhere over the next 500.
Gotta save something for the next one.
Yeah. I would encourage everyone to sign up, become a supporting member if you're a fan of the Massenomics Podcast. If you keep coming back each week and you'd like to support us somehow, the number one way is by becoming a supporting member at massenomics.com/join. We have multiple supporting membership options that work for anyone as long as your budget isn't $0. if your budget is not equal to zero, we've got a plan for you over there. And we do really appreciate that. That is a big part of what keeps us going. You can buy any of our merchandise. I'm wearing one of our new tees right now. Tommy's wearing an old classic tee. We got a whole bunch of stuff for sale right now. So check out the website, flags, banners, drink spotters, a few hats around Silly Pints, a couple things like that. Socks, check it all out, Massenomics.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, new videos every week. The podcast goes out on Massenomics YouTube every week in full video. You can watch us along with our guest this week, Mitch Hooper. Well, that'll all be in video, audio there on YouTube. And we have a new Massenomics YouTube video every single week. In addition to that, this most recent one that just posted like while we were recording today was the recap of our full York roundhead dumbbell set.
You haven't got to watch that yet, have you, Tanner?
No, I haven't even seen the video myself. I mean, I lived it when we recorded it.
So
but
you don't know what type of terrible things I wrote about you on screen.
This is like all the subtitles he puts. Like I'm like blah 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 York Roundheads, and then you filled in like text and it says this guy's a dumbass. Don't listen to him. You know?
It's just like all these derogatory speech bubbles popping above your head all the time.
Yeah, this stupid bastard. Yeah, so check out the Massenomics YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. For our podcast, leave us a rating on rating on Spotify. Gets me all the time. Tommy, where do they find you at?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can follow me at Tanner_Bear. Just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.